So we are on to episode 68, which we're calling Packers Get Cooked. You don't have to look very far to know why we would call this episode that. And I must mention out there for the APP fans that we are recording this shortly after the game. We normally wait a day or sometimes a little more just to get our thoughts together, get our notes and all that. But we are overcome with emotion and vitriol that we have to share. So I am Andrew Hetzel, and with me as always is Jeremy Hautala and Elliot Christensen. How's it going, boys? What's up?
Sad face. Terrible.
Yep. I feel like Frank Costanza, right, from Seinfeld. They got a lot of problems with you people.
Well, the good thing is
the airing of grievances coming up here.
I'm getting a new TV, and TVs are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, but the bad news is, like, my TV's busted for a week now. So, yeah, there's a shoe-sized hole right in the middle of it.
A shoe-sized hole, aren't you, Mr. Look at you, Mr. Funny Man. Well, I should also mention, too, that normally we have a very deliberate set of put together notes, but I think we're gonna do a little more improv and off the cuff type stuff today. And it goes without saying that today's game was a travesty of justice. The Packers got beat. Christ, I can barely remember the score, 28-22, if I remember correctly, by the Minnesota Vikings. Actually, they weren't beat by the Minnesota Vikings. They were beat by Dalvin Cook, who rushed for over 220-something odd yards and had accounted for all 4 touchdowns. The Packers, I would say the offense played okay. They didn't play lights out. Devontae Adams had 3 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers had 3 touchdowns passing, and they converted a 2-point conversion. They were pretty good. The defense was an abomination against God, is basically the best way I can put it, particularly the run defense. I don't know what to say. I mean, look, the Vikings came in, they were 1-5. Packers were 5-1, now 5-2. And, I'm always kind of flummoxed when you hear rumblings of, we're overlooking this opponent. In the NFL, I just don't see, in the modern NFL, how you could possibly overlook opponents. But maybe they did. I have no idea. But, man, it sure as hell looked like they did, especially on defense. It was sad. So that's kind of my...
Yeah, this looks like... It felt like the first game of the year, like no preseason, no nothing. Like, what, did you prepare anything?
You know what it reminded me of? For real, it reminded me of the second 49ers game.
Well, yeah.
It really did last year.
Right.
2000, I should preface the second 49ers game, the playoff game, where we got annihilated.
Right. Right.
And I think it brought back this whole narrative that, if you want to beat the Packers, if you want to attack our defense, just run the ball every down. And I mean every down.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, unless we start to show that we can stop a running game, I would never throw the ball on us.
Right.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
It's as simple as that. I mean, look, let's be honest here. Dalvin Cook is a special back. It's not like we got beat by some chump. He's a great back, but we made him look like
but he's no better
kind of
than
hybrid.
Yeah, he's no better than Aaron Jones. Like, he's good. He's really good, but he looked about.
Yeah, we made him look better than he is. Yeah. But he is a good back. He's a great back.
Yeah.
But 4 touchdowns. I mean, look,
but
you always go into a game and you say, whatever they're really good at, we're not going to let them beat us at that, right? We're going to take away. And Kirk Cousins sucks. The Vikings themselves are not very good. So everybody knew they were going to run the ball. Everybody. And we did nothing to stop or slow him down. It was...
we did. We did do something.
What did we do, buddy boy? Let's hear.
We put more DBs in the box to stop.
He was almost going to say D-bags.
I was going to say D-bags. I seriously was. I have a when you're done there, I have a list of 6 things that popped up into my head when the game was over. So when you're done, I'm going to read them, and I think they're actually good talk banter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot much else to say. Look, if we're extrapolating out, the team's 5-2. They still very much have a chance to win the division, make the playoffs, yada yada yada. But if you're extrapolating out what this team is going to do in the postseason, and let's face it, when you're the Packers, the postseason / Super Bowl is all that matters. You don't get points in Green Bay for making the postseason. You don't, especially with Aaron Rodgers. So right now they are on a collision course to get annihilated. Their defense to get annihilated in the playoffs by a good offense. I mean, it's plain as day, and that's basically where I'll leave it. So let's hear it, buddy. Let's hear it.
Want to hear him? Okay. This is my my 6 takes from this game and from this Packer team in general. So I just wrote them in my notes on my phone. But number 1, I'm going to use a boxing analogy here. But when the Packers take a punch, they respond by falling to the ground. They are a soft team.
Yes.
There's no way around it. I mean, this game, they came out of halftime 14-14. Minnesota got the ball in the second half to start it off. Yeah. It wasn't like the game was out of reach. It wasn't like the game was in peril. The game was very much.
The first play. The first play of the second half for the Vikings, first offensive play was a 37-yard run by Dalvin Cook. The first play of the second half.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's how you respond. I mean, it's ridiculous. Number 2, this defensive front 7 is not good enough to win big games or change any game outcome. They cannot hold blocks, and they continue getting pushed back. Inside linebackers are very inconsistent and are missing tackles left and right and not clogging holes that open up. They get caught up on blocks instead of avoiding them and attacking the ball carrier instead. Number 3, I know they cannot get rid of Mike Pettin here this early in the season, but he feels way too comfortable here. They continue to flank DBs off of receivers. I mean, not even challenging receivers, and they're catching the ball with ease. It's too easy to run and pass on this defense. And Pettin has made no noticeable changes besides throwing more DBs in the box against the run. He relies too heavily on the pass rush to get home with the Smith brothers. And the pass rush this year is one of the worst in the league, percentage-wise, as far as pass rush or, rush quarterback hits, rush percentage, etc. He responds by getting gashed by Dalvin Cook, by putting another safety or a defensive back in the box. Who the HELL hockey stick responds to getting your butt kicked in the trenches by putting more DBs in there? He has shown no ability to make changes on the fly. He's a one-trick pony. And I think you've said this, Andy. Number 4, the offense doesn't have enough firepower to come from behind. Missing Aaron Jones has proven to hurt this team more so than missing Devontae Adams.
Completely agree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Adams in the passing game, they have no other reliable options. This game, it became apparently clear that the lack of weapons outside of Adams was very noticeable because all they were doing is they were just boxing their receivers in and just they weren't even letting them get open. Right. And the receivers, if you could see almost off the TV, the receivers were standing around, weren't moving to try to get open. Like they weren't working to try to get open when the play broke down. That's a concern to me. And if that is going to be a continuing trend, they're going to continue to falter when they get behind, which is probably what the trend has been, Number 5, this team in general, and when I say this is generally speaking, they rely too heavily on following a particular script. They need to get out on top. They need to get the rushing attack going. They need play action to open up. When that doesn't work, when the opponent changes the whole game plan against us, we have no ability to make that change on the fly. So we're really a one-trick pony as far as offensively, and that concerns me because you have to be able to respond to a team's ability to respond back to you. You know what I mean? And how we came out in the second half, Minnesota they out-executed us, and we didn't have the ability to out-execute them. And that's really inexcusable considering all the injuries they had in their secondary.
They had nobody in the secondary
right
at the end of that game.
I mean, they had defensive linemen playing cornerback for crying out loud. Number 6, and the last play just exemplify this game. I mean, Minnesota rushed 3 linemen.
Oh God, yeah.
And the defensive lineman still gets on Rodgers' back, knocks the ball out, game over. And if you look at there's a when you watch it on TV, when you watch the replay, you see Rodgers and you see DJ Wonham, who's the man who knocked the ball out of Rodgers' hands, and you see 5 linemen sitting in the back, all watching, just like sitting there praying that he's going to make a play, that he's going to be the old Rodgers, that he's just going to make something happen.
Yeah.
But when you don't do your job, it's very hard for Rodgers to make something happen. That last play of the game, I don't know what would have happened because we didn't get to see the whole field. But the play was shot down because they failed to protect him. It just exemplified the whole game, the lack of execution. It nailed us in the end, you know.
I hesitate to call it laziness, but what you brought up at the end there was kind of the passiveness,
the softness.
You know, I mean, yeah. And I will say this: outside of the ending, how did you like the play, Mrs. Lincoln? Basically, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what, though? I mean,
I'm being facetious. Obviously, I agree with basically everything
but
you
just
said.
Think about this: if they scored on that last play, we would be talking through our ears.
I mean, the fact that they had a chance to win that game is amazing. As I take a step back, I'm like, because man, up until that last play where the fumble happens, I guess a strip sack you want to call it or whatever. It felt like they were down, even at that point, it felt like they were down 21 points, even though they were down 6. Had they scored a touchdown there, let's say, they could have won by just kicking an extra point. So it's crazy. I mean, I almost had to jog that again and go, wait a minute, we did have a chance to win that game.
We did. And you know what? We could have had a little bit more cushion there at the end. Think back on Minnesota's last possession before they got the ball, before we turned it over on downs. There was 2:30 left. And they run the ball on first down. They get a sizable gain there. We let the clock run out to the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
We lost 26 seconds there, which in the end, that 26 seconds maybe could have given us a play or 2 or 3. I don't know.
Right.
So
why did they do that, you think?
They were looking to save timeouts, and they looked at it like from a time perspective, you know, that, okay, there's a lot of, or maybe, you know what? I don't know. But
I mean, I think it could be as simple as what you just said. I mean, they were running it down to the 2-minute, and they're like, we'll just save these timeouts.
Which you get the 2-minute warning, but they let 26 seconds slide off the clock. The play clock is 40 seconds. So there really wasn't a lot of leeway there. Mm-hmm. You know, saying, you know, if it was 10 seconds, that's one thing. But we're talking about 26 seconds, which in the NFL is an eternity at the end of a game or in a 2-minute warning. Yeah. Teams, I mean, I just watched the Saints just go down the field on the Bears before halftime.
Yeah.
No problem whatsoever with ease under a minute to go. Right. There was like 40-some seconds, and they scored a touchdown.
Right.
So in the NFL, if you are going to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands, give him time to do it.
Right.
Don't just expect him to create and conjure up miracles, because that is a non-ending theme here, that he doesn't have the ability to just do it by himself. He needs everybody else to contribute to that.
I agree. You know, I agree with basically everything you said. And, you know, I'm kind of, as you were talking, I was running in my head here. I was listening, but I was also in my head. What's that? No, I was running in my head about other, you know, things that have I mean, look, holistically speaking, it's been a weird year. You had no training camp. You got the pandemic. You got all this nonsense. So, but every team's in the same boat. It's not like it's just the Packers. So I'm thinking back to, and I totally forgot about Devin Funchess, and I'm not bringing that up to say he would have saved the day, but there's certain things that, like in any other season, nobody opts out. So you wonder what, if anything, plans they had for Funchess. And again, it wasn't like they brought in frickin' Des Bryant in his prime or something like that, but you know, with stuff like that, and there is an element of, with this season in general, from taking a step back, wondering what things could have been. And for instance, and again, I'm getting into hypotheticals. What the hell? You know, if it was a different season, non-pandemic or whatever, would they be looking at different personnel moves differently? Would they be looking at, for instance, the Snacks Harrison thing? I thought about that, and I'm like, would they have made a more aggressive? And I don't know. That's why part of me is going, why even bring this up? Because this is all hypothetical.
Yeah.
But still, it does make you wonder.
Well, when you bring up Snacks Harrison, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
You talk about John Schneider, who did work in Green Bay.
He's aggressive as all hell.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. He is an aggressive general manager that does not look. He looks for every way to scour the waiver wire or to scour free agents to try to prove that team. And he does it on a consistent basis. Agreed. They go out this week and they trade for Carlos Dunlap, who is the all-time sack leader in Cincinnati history, and they made a move for him. You know what? It might be a half a year rental, but they are looking at right now that they are that close to maybe getting over the hump.
Right.
And all they need is one or two guys to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe their over evaluation of the team going into the season, maybe they overstepped themselves and they missed, the pass rush. Maybe it's not as good as what they valued it to be.
I agree.
And I see the same thing here with this team. Like, we see a rush defense that it's a continuous trend. They just continuously, as I like to term it, they are like the bully who keeps on pushing me down and stealing my Halloween candy. They just don't have like that stand up power if they're getting pushed around or if a team is beating them silly. They don't have the ability to respond to that, and right now, it's a multifold problem. It's a, I definitely think it's a Mike Pettin thing because he has to inspire these guys to say, okay, are you guys, you have to be a leader. You're a leader of that defense, and that team exemplifies what that leader means. And he's just too laid back and comfortable with that. Number two, personnel wise, they don't have the personnel to compete in the front seven. They need, and if they want to make a move to get beyond where they finished last year, they're going to need to make some type of move, whether it's to make a trade, find somebody on the free agent wire, or go sign somebody off a practice squad, because this year, more than any other year, teams can sign up to 3 veterans over 3 years of experience to be on your practice squad. So there's veterans out there to be had. Off the top of my head, I can't think of many, but they would know, who's out there. But like, they really, really, really need to make that move that, whether it's a Will Fuller, I mean, any move at this point is going to help this team because they're stagnant without it.
Yeah. I mean, Savage was out again today. I'm running through, right?
No, he played.
He played. Who the heck was that?
He didn't do much, so that's why you probably thought he did.
Yeah, I just assumed. Look, it's so bad. It's so bad. I assumed he was out.
Yeah, right.
So Jeremy.
Yeah.
So being aggressive with getting like free agents and getting, I mean, aren't there teams that do that and then get bit by that? Like, I kind of feel like that's what happened to the Vikings like a few years back, and then they have this year, right? I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like they built up and kind of like last year was their shot. They missed it, and now they kind of
That's a good. I know you guys, but I would, as you said that, it got me thinking. I think what you're talking about, they kind of went all in when they had Favre, right? When they went after Favre.
Well, I mean that too. So right, so there's that was another example. So they kind of, I think they kind of do that. So they're like, now, oh, we got this guy. We're going to build this big team. We're going to
and here's what I think separates that from what you say about getting burned. If you have a quarterback, you're going to have a lot higher chance, and a quarterback not just for 1 year, a couple years or whatever. If you have a good quarterback or a great quarterback, you're not going to get burned as bad because you have a good player, a great player at the most important position. And when I look at like Schneider and an aggressive guy like that, he's got frickin' Russell Wilson, who's he's basically a front runner for MVP. So let's not pretend that Schneider has, Humpty Dump.
No,
that's really good. Some Humpty Dumpty, I almost at quarterback. He's got a great quarterback.
Right.
And with the Vikings, they have Kirk Cousins, who's a pile of excrement.
Right. No, and I'm not.
They paid a lot of money too, but I think that is a huge caveat. I agree with what you say. It's these. I think the bad teams like the the Redskins, who were always in on the big,
Right.
That's who I
free
was
agents. They never had a good quarterback
Yeah. Okay.
to guide them along and kind of, be like, I'll say, a quote unquote franchise safety net.
Yeah.
And that's what separates that, in my opinion.
Yeah. No.
Well, that was the thing that I was going to talk about was Washington. They are notorious for going
Oh my
outside.
God! Remember Albert Hainsworth? It's like
I was
they
just going to
basically
say him.
shiny object. Give me that. But they always have Humpty Dumpty at quarterback.
They signed Albert Hainsworth for
I remember
$100 million.
that was what a disaster.
And they got like 7.5 sacks of production out of him.
And they cut him like a year later. They cut him.
They're notorious. I mean, they are notorious for going out and trying to improve in free agency. Yeah. Now, there's a drawback to that, but there's also many positives to that. Now, we talk about John Schneider. Since he's been there, how many losing seasons has that team had? Russell Wilson hasn't been there for his whole existence. Right. I think he was there in 2000.
For Schneider?
Yeah, Schneider. I think he started in 2009 or 10.
No, Schneider went there after the Super Bowl that we won. I think he was there. Wilson came in 2011 or 2012?
2011, I think.
Schneider might have been there the whole time. I mean, I see what you're saying, though. That's kind of semantics. Isn't it?
No, I mean, there are general managers, just player personnel people out there that find ways to make do. John Schneider just finds ways.
But he has Russell Wilson.
Right. That helps. But I don't know if you remember that article that I did about the top 10 paid quarterbacks in every year since 2010. Yep. Only one of them has won a Super Bowl, and that was Peyton Manning in 2012. So the quarterback doesn't make the end all be all. It doesn't get you there.
It helps tremendously, but you're right. It doesn't automatically get you over the hump, obviously.
Right. The Packers are in a tough situation right now. They roughly have $10 to $12 million in cap space. They're gonna most likely lose cap space next year. So this 10 to 12 million that they have, they're looking to move that into next year's cap because the cap is rumored to go down roughly $20 to $30 million based off of the fact that the pandemic is here. There's no fans. There's lost revenue and stuff like that.
It's going to be down 20 to 30 million.
Right.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That's the rumor.
I didn't realize it was going to be down that much.
Well, we're talking about 170
There's zero
million,
fans.
Well, the Packers can dig into petty cash. Dig into the reserves.
That's a big chunk of money.
I'm just kidding.
Right, but I mean, they're looking at it from an economical standpoint. They're looking at it from an economical standpoint that they want to be able to carry this money over to next year and hopefully help themselves out.
And I mean, they got Bakhtiari coming up, Lindsley coming up. They got
Aaron Jones.
They're kind of in a pinch.
Well, they're going to have to look from within to try to rectify that. Guys like Dean Lowry, are they going to be worth keeping around for the large salary that they have? That's what I mean. But
Dean Lowry.
The problem that I see right now is this team is really they're close. They're not really close, but they're close. Yeah. But if you let's just throw a couple names out there. Let's say, for example, before the Tuesday trade deadline, they bring in Will Fuller, and let's just throw a defensive lineman out there that's possibly available.
B.J. Raji, sitting at home, man.
Okay, let's take a guy of B.J. Raji's stature and bring him in here. How much does this team improve? We could be hypothetical and say they'll prove exponentially.
Yeah, I mean,
because
Will Fuller isn't going to all of a sudden make them into Randy Moss with Tom Brady. It ain't going to happen. No. It's going to help, but it's not going to be some game changer.
No, but what is killing this team right now is they really went into the season expecting a lot from MVS, a lot from Equanimeous St. Brown.
And they thought they'd have Funchess.
And they thought they would have Funchess. But that goes back to another topic. We're not going to talk about that. But, right now, MVS has fallen into his typical disappearing act.
So bad at playing the ball, man.
And it's killing this team.
I've never seen a guy put his hands up so late. Things are bouncing off his hands because it's like when they do the replay, like in the end zone, his hands are starting to come up as the ball arrives. Not good.
Well, getting back to Elliot's question, I think what the team really has to do right now is they have to explore opportunities to improve themselves, and it has to be from outside the organization. They're going to have to take on the hit that they're going to lose some money into next year's cap, that they're most likely going to have to make some very hard decisions this offseason with players they currently have under contract. but that's your job as a general manager to make those difficult decisions. And that general manager right there looks like he knows how to make decisions. So
What do you think, buddy? What's the answer? Huh?
Well, I mean, he looks like a magic 8-ball, so that's about what we're doing right now.
Outlook not so good.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, no! You know what? You make an interesting point there too, Jeremy, and that they have to look outside the building to get better, but also, and I didn't really think about this till you brought it up, that they do have to think about the cap ramifications in the short term, and what contracts you're taking on, and yada yada
Right.
yada, and
But
because
let's
they
be,
are now.
but let's be real though. How much longer do you think this team's window exists? Like when Aaron Rodgers leaves, let's just throw this out there. Let's say Aaron Rodgers leaves this offseason. Let's just say, in the rare chance that would happen, and Jordan Love steps in, do you think that team is a playoff team?
No.
Right there. Okay. So that is enough incentive right there to say, you know what? I think this is the year. We're almost there.
Right.
We just need to make a few moves.
Right.
We have to bite the bullet.
Yeah, you got to go all in.
Right. And that's part of building a winning organization is you got to take risks. This is a risk, but what do you want to do? Do you want to go home when the season's done, or do you want to stand there with the trophy in your hand? Obvious answer. You want to stand there with the trophy in your hand. So this is what they have to do, because they, if they continue to stand pat with the current team that they have, like Andy mentioned before, this is going to be a horrendous ending to the season in some type of playoff game, whether it's the divisional round or the championship round. And we're going to be sitting here and just, with smoke in our ears. And it's going to be like the same thing over and over again.
It's such I mean, it all does get back to, I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's like only one team can win the Super Bowl. And how many teams are okay with just getting there to the playoffs? The Packers, I would say, I think we know they are okay with just getting to the playoffs. They are much more infatuated with continuity versus going all in. And again, not saying that's the wrong approach, but that's the approach. We're kidding ourselves if we don't think that's the approach.
So if you think about it as a business, from the business standpoint, right? Is it more important to the business of the Packers to be in the playoffs 2 consecutive years than to be in the playoffs and do well one year, not win the Super Bowl, but do well, right? But then fall apart the next year?
Yeah, I don't have a definite answer. And here's the crazy thing that you hear about all the time, but there is think about, okay, I'm going to go back to pre-Favre, right? I mean, there's a lot of, Aaron Nagler online talks about it all the time. He goes, I have seen the dark time.
Right. We all have.
Right? And I never have. Now I have different, so I lived in Georgia, but at the same time, and I wasn't even really a Packers fan then, but there is an element of how,
let me tell you, Sonny,
how spoiled we are.
Yes.
Relatively speaking, with having 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back. And then the flip side of that is you only got 2 Super Bowls between them. Should have had 5, 6, blah, 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 and then again, New England's the anomaly. And they are an anomaly, as we know. So I think that in some ways there's this, since Bob Harlan, you could say, and Ron Wolf, it's if I were to put myself in their shoes, and I know we're getting really kind of out, trying to think of the word existential about this, but it's if I were I could see them going, I've lived through the junk, I've seen the muck, and I am more than happy to be in contention, but not sell out and be bad for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying I get that sentiment, and it is one way to do it. But I guess what I'm saying is we've never had it, and we are due.
We are due. And here's the thing you have to look at too.
30 years of
we're due. We go into an off season, and after this season's done, it's going to be an off season like no other, because we talk about how the NFL is losing money left and right because they can't have fans and all that kind of stuff. So next year is going to be really weird. But here's the deal.
Yeah.
You talk about our free agents. We talk about David Bakhtiari, Corey Linsley, Aaron Jones, Kevin King. Those are just the ones that come off the top of my head. If you lose those 4 guys right there, what is the dynamic of this team next year, and who replaces them?
Right.
So if you look at it from that perspective, like what kind of team are we going to be next year if we can't bring the guys that are our stalwarts back? Wow. Then you go all in right now and realize that this is the time. The reckoning has come. Like this is where we need to go get it.
Look at the draft, though, Jeremy. The first 3 picks were all third stringers.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times
that is maddening to think and say, but it is true. Third string quarterback,
right?
Third string running back, and a freaking fullback.
Yeah,
he was basically like a third string tight end. He was on. I mean, I'm not going to blame him for being on IR.
Right.
But your first 3 picks were.
It is maddening.
At the time, third stringers.
Yeah, you hope at least one of those guys works out. Is maddening.
Well, that's
AJ Dillon is the tallest midget, baby.
Okay, so we've been going down kind of a negative path. So and it is only the third quarter, but it's the end of the third quarter and beginning of the fourth quarter of the late games, right? So Chicago's down by 3. So
against who?
Against New Orleans. So I think New Orleans has a good shot of beating them. So like all is not lost for our season is one thing. We do play San Francisco on Thursday, but San Francisco is down
on a short week.
San Francisco is losing 7-30 against Seattle right now. So they're a beatable team. Now the Vikings are a beatable team too. So I don't want to assume it's going to be.
They're losing 30-7.
Yeah.
And what quarter?
It's the fourth quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter right now. Yeah. So I just want to shine a little light on our sorrow. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to
I'll
shine a little light.
That's good. I mean, look, the NFL, as we know, the NFL is still week to week. And hell, in this case, it's freaking hour to hour on Sunday.
Right.
But I told you guys this, and I honestly did believe this. I said the last 5 minutes of the game today was really entertaining.
It was.
When they lost at the end, I wasn't like, I didn't want to throw something. I was like, well, we deserve to lose. And I was kind of like, but I was like, it was very entertaining. But that's about all I got.
I mean, I was partway to that, but I was ready to break my TV.
Oh, so you didn't break your TV?
I didn't.
But you're still getting a new TV?
Dude, I'm way too cheap. No. I'm way too cheap to do that. This TV's gonna last me another decade.
Jeremy, he's drafting that third string TV. It's gonna sit in the corner. He's gonna spend. He goes, check out this TV, still in the box.
Nice.
Paid $1,000 for that.
That's what it would be.
What are you gonna do with it? Oh, it's my backup TV.
So I actually joked to my brother. I'm like, if somebody gave me a TV, I would sell it for cheap. I would give it away. I would do something because I'm like,
I must say,
I already have
on
a
another
TV.
Positive note. TVs are insanely cheap. You can get like a freaking 70-inch TV for like $500.
That was the context. I'm like, I don't care. I don't have $500 to spend. I'm not going to buy a new TV. I don't care. Yeah.
So are you saying that the Packers are like cheap TVs? They just don't want to spend a lot?
I'm saying so. Jordan Love is like a Vizio 42-incher collecting dust in the corner.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Wow.
And it, he's got the Roku smart TV and it looks really nice, but in 2 years that Roku is going to look kind of obsolete.
I mean,
I don't know. This isn't my analogy.
No, this is a little positivity. I've said to you guys, and Jeremy, I've said this. I think it might have just been to you. I think Elliot might have left the chat a couple of days ago, but Goody, and I have said this. I've maintained this for, I don't know if it's been a full year, but he's in over his head. I've maintained that look. And again, if you go about how Gutekunst was hired, they settled on him. And they settled on him because Mike McCarthy wanted him, who is gone. And, he didn't even last 6. So in a way, it was like they didn't go out and get their guy. Let's not pretend they did. Is that Goody's fault? No. If you're in the running and somebody offered you a job to be a Packers GM, you're not going to be like, no, I don't think so. You're going to take it. So I'm not going to fault him for taking it. But let's not pretend they went out and got their guy. They settled on him. And man, if you look at his drafts, they're not good. I will give him credit for Jair Alexander, Elton. I can't even talk. Elton Jenkins. Other than that, what do they got?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious.
But he's only been here a few years.
3 years.
Yeah, but two good players out of 3 drafts.
Yeah.
It's kind of the old Ted Thompson draft, where you get maybe 1 or 2 players.
Ted in the beginning did great.
Well, he had a split resume. I mean, his first half of his tenure here was really good. His second half wasn't.
Yeah.
But
so it's going to be like reverse.
So
like
reverse.
So Goody's on the end of his tenure is going to be great. So we have to write it out to allow him to have the end of his tenure.
Yes. And we need to go to.
If you look at his drafts,
yeah,
not good, man. He's biffed. And look he drafted 3 wide receivers. They all stink. Well, St. Brown. Again, not his fault, but Jesus, Aaron Rodgers went to him on a 3rd down where it was like a perfect throw and it bounced off his hands. And then he went to him on 4th down in the end zone. I'm going, okay, that was amazing.
Okay, so let's look at it from a different perspective. Do you think player personnel is drafting the right players, or do you think coaches are not coaching these players up? Because I will take one guy, for example, that when he was in college at Iowa, he was a ball hawk. He was a turnover machine. Josh Jackson.
You're talking defense. I'm talking if I would delineate it to offense versus defense. So you're talking about Josh Jackson.
I'm just bringing him up because in college, his last year, I mean, he had 30 passes defense, 7 interceptions, 2 TDs, return for touchdown.
He also played the Big Ten. Put him against the SEC and see what happens.
Well, I don't have that ability. I just have the ability to look at what he did, and I watched him against Wisconsin that year, and he ate him up like nothing, So,
I hate to say it, man, but when you put up, look, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, man, but did you look at Alabama and look at what have you seen what Alabama's offense is doing? Jesus Christ.
Well,
if you play at Iowa,
Alabama is the New England of the NFL, okay? And I know that you love that analogy because you love New England, but
well, Alabama trounced my Georgia Bulldogs.
They did.
And their receivers.
They did.
Oh, they're unbelievable, man.
Yeah, and their quarterback is in hot water right now. So
what did he do? Georgia's
quarterbacks, I think it was his name, Stetson Bennett. He's been
Stetson Bennett. What a freaking Southern name right there. Stetson Bennett. I think he's a white guy.
He is a white guy, yes.
If the next black guy you meet whose name's Stetson, it ain't happening.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Scratch.
Back to my original point.
I'm sorry.
I'm just looking at it from a talent evaluation perspective and a coaching perspective. So they bring in these guys like Josh Jackson and Jair Alexander were drafted back to back. And Jair Alexander's turning up pretty good. Josh Jackson, he's in his 4th year, his last year of his contract, most likely might not be back. Do you think that the position coaches have gotten the most out of these players? Or do you think that the position coaches have failed these players to get the most out of them? That's part of the reason why
was Dom Capers was still here when Josh Jackson split time, right?
2017.
And Pettin's been here since 18?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you could argue. I mean, look, I'll tell you this. If you look at Dom Capers into Pettin, ain't looking good, man. Because Dom Capers screwed up some guys too. I mean, look at Casey Hayward. Look at Micah Hyde. Those are just 2 who went on to be freaking Pro Bowlers in other systems.
Right. And that's what I'm kind of steering the conversation down to.
Pettin might be worse than Capers.
Well, I think you forget how
Hard to
Capers ended. But I think you're going down the right path. That
Nice. You're
the
going down
coaching
the path toward the dark side.
the dark side, and that these coaches / defensive coordinators are kind of ruining these players. If they go on to a new team
and thrive,
what does that say?
Well,
I hear you.
So does anybody have this conversation with them? They're like, hey, Mike.
I thought you did.
Should I call them up and be like, hey, Mike, these guys are going to these other teams, and I mean, they don't suck. You said they suck. They don't. What's up?
I would just ask them, say, hey, you had the DBs that you wanted all along. Why do you have them playing 15 yards off the ball in 3rd and 2? Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good question. It is hard to tease that apart. But I mean, when you can A/B test it, right? And you're A/B testing it by sending them to another team. And if they excel on average.
I think there are other things like how good is the defensive line? How good is the front seven in the aspects of Casey Hayward, Micah Hyde? I think they're talented. I think they would do better anyway. But I would like to know how good the front seven is just to give it some perspective.
Oh, right. And I think I made this point in the conversation today. They went out and spent a 2nd-round draft pick on Josh Jones, who was going to be the next, Steve Atwater.
He was going to be, he's the fancy hybrid linebacker.
Hybrid guy.
About. What
and look where that failed. He did not live up to that. Now he's not in the league, or I think he's on somebody's practice squad.
No, I think he's out of the league.
No, I think he's on a practice squad either with Jack.
Oh, that means out of the league.
Like that, but out of the league. Why would you draft a linebacker if you had that need for that hybrid guy? I
think Ted and maybe Capers, I don't know, but they did start to get obsessed towards the end it's a passing league. We need this rangy linebacker. And then meanwhile, people are starting to run the ball and we look like cardboard cutouts out there. They missed the boat on that.
And
flew by them.
Well, and that's the problem is that if you don't keep up with the trends, which teams are seeing the trend to beat the Packers.
If you don't keep up or you don't even see it coming, try to be a little freaking proactive.
Well, and that's where I take this offseason. I look at that very constructively where I say, okay, I look at last year, we were 13-3. They're not taking anything away from that. But how did we lose those 3 games, actually 4 games, if you include the NFC Championship? How did we lose those games? It was a butt kicking that was beyond pale.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't picture that would happen in the NFL. And it did. Yeah. The San Francisco 49ers ran rampant over us in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, when we lose in the playoffs, we are like historically bad.
But think about that. That's a concern that I don't think anybody in that organization is looking at. Because they see success and they just think about fine-tuning it rather than saying, okay, we're 13-3, but literally we got our butts handed to us and there's just a few moves that we need to make to get us over the hump. They look at it like it's a fine tune, and it's not.
Yeah.
This team was not a fine tune this offseason. It was a, we need to go out and make some moves in order for this to happen. Now, last year,
nothing.
But that's a problem. That's
I agree.
a problem. And they expected a lot of internal growth to happen, and they're not getting it from guys like Montravius Adams, again. MVS again. Getting back to your loyalty part of it, there's a loyalty issue here. Because I don't know
loyalty to a fault in the NFL gets you fired.
Yeah.
I don't know how many teams would stick it to Montravius Adams this long and get nothing in the end result from it.
And I'm talking loyalty to a fault even with coaches. Look at McCarthy. Loyalty to a fault with frickin' Capers. That was he missed him by maybe 3, maybe 4 years. I'm not kidding. And you could say, this is the one thing I don't get about LaFleur with Pettin. Pettin wasn't even his guy. If that was me, and you always want to bring in your own guys, you hear every GM talk about it, every blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if I saw that performance out of my inherited GM or my inherited DC last year after the 49ers, I cannot. I was honestly stunned they brought him back.
I was too.
More so because it wasn't his guy. He kind of agreed. He's like, okay, I'll take you on, because we'll get a little bit of continuity here, blah, 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 But to get your pants pulled down twice and then bring them back, and then you wonder if LaFleur's like, man, I made a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even get a reach around with Pettin in the third time. I mean, they didn't get that. So, yeah, I mean,
right?
This
Moon River.
This
wasn't that Fletch?
Was it? I don't know. I don't remember.
Chevy Chase movie, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, but I don't know. I'm just I keep on going back to my analogy of I'm done being the kid that gets the bully pushing him down and taking his candy. And that's how I feel with this team every year. That we get
more so with the defense though.
Right. But even last year, like with the 49ers, our offensive line couldn't even protect Rodgers when they depended on it.
My dad made a point the other day, and his name is Andrew Hetzel, so he's got a good name. So he's right. I'm the third. But no, he has said multiple times, not just this year, but over previous years, where he says our offensive lines many times are overrated because Rodgers makes them look better than they are. I mean, I struggle with that sometimes, but when you look at when they face a good defense, I mean, they got annihilated against Tampa Bay, and to your point, even against the front, and they're supposedly always top five. And Bakhtiari, I think Bakhtiari's great. I think the line itself is pretty good, but I do think Rodgers makes them sometimes look better than they are. And when they face good front sevens,
lights out.
It's hard to you get punched in the mouth, and when they get punched in the mouth, they don't respond well.
Well,
and I think there's some of that.
That's the key. How do you respond to that? So you look at last year, how we ended the year, and they responded to that by saying, well, you know what? Dean Lowry, he's going to have another year under his belt. He's going to step up and be a good player.
Dean Lowry.
Montravius Adams, he had a really bad year last year because he was hurt. He's going to step up this year.
He's done a little bit better, but not much.
If you continue to go down that continuous trend of, this guy's going to step up, this guy's going to step up, instead of going out and bringing in a guy who's going to push that guy to step up, this is what you get.
So
lackadaisical performances.
Okay. So 13-3, and we go into this year, right? And so you're an advocate of, we should have made some bigger changes instead of, more subtle fine tuning. But I think the Patriots kind of did that. They're like, we're going to make some major changes. And I think that kind of is not working super well for them right now.
You wonder if they just lost their fourth game in a row. You wonder with the Patriots, though, are they in like we're rebuilding, but we're not going to say it.
Well, anybody who's rebuilding never says.
Do they?
Well, nobody says it.
It's a different team building analogy. Like, I look at San Francisco, they lost Emmanuel Sanders and they lost the defensive lineman that they traded to the Colts. Is it Eric Armstead or DeForest Buckner? I think it's DeForest Buckner. Their first two draft picks were a wide receiver and a defensive lineman. Okay, that is all that you need to look at when you look at the grand scheme of things. That if you were going to
fill holes, they filled areas of need.
You're going to replace the needs that came up by getting rid of other players.
We had a gaping hole at third string QB. Are you kidding me?
It was so gaping that he's on the sideline in his joggers. So, and that's the part that just really gets to me. Like, I see a value in every pick, and I'm looking at my team. I'm looking at a way to construct my team. And I will
never forgive them for trading up. If you fell to them, that's one thing. For trading up, no way.
Right.
Are they? No way. Okay. Do you think that they are just really still reeling from when we were left with no good backup quarterback before?
Yeah.
Like the Seneca Wallaces.
Yeah.
Hear me out on this. I read this somewhere. This is really interesting. This is conspiracy. Tinfoil hat territory. But, you know who it was? It was Rob Reichel. Did you read his article about Rodgers after the Tampa Bay game? He used to be a beat writer, I think, worked with Bob McGinn, Journal Sentinel, but now he works for Forbes, but he covers the Packers. And he basically said, this article came out a couple weeks ago, but he said it was after Tampa Bay. And he said the Packers were right in drafting Jordan Love. And then he went on about blah, 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 and how Rodgers has been done bad in big playoff games. And he's, if you look at him statistically in some playoff games, he's been pretty bad. Now, where I'm going with this is so if you go back to when Favre, his last year with the Packers in the NFC Championship game, and he threw the pick, and it was a cold game, and they basically, I think the front office collectively looked at that and said, Favre is not going to get us over the hump, and he can't play in the cold anymore, and we play at Lambeau Field. And so that was one part of it. That wasn't the whole reason, but they were like, we're going to move on to Rodgers, and they were planning to do that, and then all that other crap happened. Right. But fast forward to now, you wonder if Gutekunst and the other guys they were looking at, I mean, the run defense was atrocious in the 49er game. Don't get me wrong. It was the big thing. But Rodgers did not play well, and he does not play very well against good defenses. Now, does he have all the talent in the world? No. But you almost wonder if their mindset was, oh boy, Rodgers ain't going to get us over the hump. It was almost a repeat. And they're like, time to do it.
I don't think it was that.
It's an interesting thought experiment.
But I think
I necessarily believe it.
No, I don't believe it, but I think it was a change of philosophy. I think they realized that the way to beat San Francisco was to develop a new.
I'm not talking just San Francisco. I'm talking about they didn't think it's possible. They didn't think Rodgers could win a big game anymore in the playoffs. Period. Whoever the opponent was.
I think that's unfair. Because their defenses have given up 33 points per game in the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. So if you're giving up 33 points per game, what do you expect Rodgers to do?
Yeah.
I agree, but also Rodgers has played poorly. And again, this is almost like I'm playing devil's advocate.
33 points. Okay. Is that a real stat? 33 in the playoffs?
It's somewhere between 30 and 35 points. I don't remember
Elliot,
exactly
if you look at,
I believe that.
And even do you remember his first playoff game against the 49 or against the Arizona Cardinals in 2009? They gave up 50 something points in that. Remember when he fumbled and it was a face mask?
Very clearly remember.
That was Dom Capers' first year as defensive coordinator.
Oh yeah.
51 points, I think it was, they gave up in that game.
Yeah.
Kurt Warner had more touchdowns than incompletions in that game. He had 5 touchdowns. Yep.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's just so. Yeah, Rodgers has never had a good defense in the playoffs, but he doesn't play against our defense. He plays against the other team's defense. So if you look at it from that perspective, he has not, outside the Super Bowl year, he has not played that well against good defenses. You could say sometimes it's been lack of talent, over the past few years and whatnot. And again, I'm not sitting here piling on, but I do wonder if they're like getting that feeling where they're like, he can't win the big game either.
Well, I guess if you're going to pay him what they're paying him, you're going to expect him to be a lot better.
I agree with that.
You're going to expect better production. You're going to expect him to kind of carry this team on his shoulders. But I think that's almost anticipating failure when you're going to expect a guy to carry a team with Devontae Adams and
it's
what
nonsense.
You call them, a bunch of Jags.
Just a guy.
That's very difficult to do. You can't expect a magician to just make magic when there's no ability to.
Yeah, I mean, during the Capers era with McCarthy outside the Super Bowl, I think for them just to win games, he had to play at an MVP level.
Yeah,
I don't think he has to play at an MVP level to win games right now, but it's not like he can't play poorly and their defense is going to win a game. Ain't happening.
Yeah. So what do you do about it?
I don't know. I mean, look, why don't we get into trade deadline coming up? You think they do anything?
Nope.
Nothing?
I don't think they do anything. Wow.
No.
I don't think they do either.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that is the right thing to do. I'm just saying this is a team that they live this motto of continuing the course,
Exactly.
And that's
I think they still look. How much would they have to give up to get Fuller for a draft pick?
I mean, it sounds like they're looking for a real high one. So would it be a second, third, probably in that field? I mean, that's a high pick.
And the Packers are still generally draft and develop, and there's no way I see Gutekunst giving up a second for Fuller. I just don't see it.
I don't either.
Especially for a 1-year rental.
Plus, you're going to have to lose $5 million in cap space to pay the remainder of his salary, so you lose that. But if you don't take risks, what are you going to expect to happen? Are we just going to continue this definition of insanity where we keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expect it to actually get better? Like that's what the mode they're in.
I would much rather them, if they do make a move, bring in someone on defense.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
We have a much bigger need on
I would rather them bring in a defensive lineman than a wide receiver, even though they need a wide receiver.
We do. Yeah.
I mean, they need the defense. They're not going to get anything done with this defense.
Oh, I agree.
They might get something done with this offense. Right. There's zero chance of getting anything done with this
defense.
It's almost in the negative.
When Aaron Jones is in there and the other guys, play to their...
And they didn't have Bakhtiari either.
Right.
I mean, Rodgers didn't have to get pressured a whole lot today, but still, it's missing your all-pro left tackle does not help.
The defense needs something. You guys are so much better at analyzing that. Like, it's so hard for me to look at the front line and see like who's not doing the job, because to me it's just like a unit.
It's the eye test, Elliot. It has literally gotten to the point with the eye test. I made the comment early on where I even said to Jeremy, I said, their whole defensive line looks like linebackers. They're so small.
Yeah,
they look like a bunch of linebackers.
Yeah,
they're so small. When I see Lowry out there, I'm like, you think that guy's going to hold up against anything? Come on.
I mean, so are they literally small, or is that just like a feel?
That's I think
it's both.
It's a comparative to what other teams and what the average defensive.
They don't have any beef.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, I know that's what you're saying, but I mean, is that literally true, or is that just like a gut feel?
That's a fair point. I don't know.
I just don't.
I would say I would be shocked if we're not on the light side. I would be stunned, to be honest with you.
I mean, I don't look at it like you guys just have such an eye for this. I don't even know where to start to look for when I'm. I try to break things down the way I think you do, and I just don't. I don't know how.
I mean, let's put it this way: like, Jeremy, would you consider, is Kenny Clark undersized, or is he about?
Oh no, he's about average.
He's about average. I mean,
for a nose tackle, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's not a defensive end. He's a tackle. How big was Raji? I can't remember.
He was what 6'2". He was about 6'2", and he was about 330, I think, on the
he's a big boy,
side.
But he can move.
Yeah.
He retired when he was 29.
Wow.
That's so. Yeah. But when I look at Lowry and Lancaster.
Role players, not starters.
And I mean, even just weight wise, they look 30 pounds light. Just weight. I'm not even talking about girth or athleticism. They look like they need to put on 30 pounds to hold up against the point of attack.
Yeah.
Well, and see, that's the problem I see developing too, is they just gave Kenny Clark a huge contract. He's going to wear down very quickly if he's
because
continuing.
He gets double teamed
and triple teamed. I mean, he's got 2-3 guys on him every single down.
And you would think
80%
like
of the
that
plays.
Somebody else would make a freaking play, but no, they're too small. They get pushed around.
Well, and definitely, but they just don't have any other playmakers. They've always looked at the defensive line and inside linebacker as we can go budget wise here and be okay
and spend all the money in the secondary. I guess that's what it has to be.
Yeah.
But are they doing that?
Are they doing what?
Are they spending all the money in the secondary?
Not right now.
Kenny Clark is what? Is he the highest paid nose tackle in the league now?
Yeah.
So they spent money there, and Kenny Clark's a great player. He's ascending, but to Jeremy's point, the logic states, if you're getting doubled or tripled, the other guys should make a play here and there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Here, not all the time, but here and there. They should be freed up to. They're not doing squat.
Right.
I mean, they're like, Dean Lowry gets a sack. Did you see unblocked, nobody 5 yards around him, and Kirk Cousins bootleg into him?
I know.
It was like he did not make a play. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was a blind squirrel finding an acorn. It really was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel bad for a guy like Dean. He's a try-hard guy, and if somebody threw me $22 million for, what was it, 3 years or whatever, Is that what it was? Something like that?
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'll take that. They'd be like, you think you're going to improve? I'd be like, sure. I'll do the best I can.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe.
I think he's playing to the best of his ability.
Exactly.
He's not,
it's not Kenny Clark's fault.
No.
It's the Packers front office for looking at him going, he's gonna ascend and he's gonna get back. It's completely miscalculating his ceiling. Is basically what they did.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to A/B test this and see, like, when these players go somewhere else to see how they do, like, and be able to come back and say, look, you thought this guy sucked and he went here and he played well. You thought this guy was, playing well. We let him go and whatever, like it's.
I mean, look, they even have an issue with Kevin King is good. He's, but he's hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And I think to Jeremy's mentioned that Kevin King's a press man corner, and they ask him to play all this zone and off, and it's stupid. But on the flip side of that, say Petten goes and they bring in a guy who allows them to play to their strengths. Kevin King has missed like over a third of his games, though.
Right.
Like, I don't know what you do with King, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you have to, I don't want to say you start over, but you got Jair, and he's been pretty healthy, and he's good as ascending. I think he's got all pro potential. I think he's very good right now, but I don't know what you do with Kevin King. I really don't.
Well, and just think about this. We had the ability. Now, just think how this could have transformed this team. Ted Thompson traded out of the first round and traded back into the second, the very first pick. And that's where they got Kevin King. But where they traded out of was where they could have had TJ Watt.
Yep.
And how would that have transformed this team? Because would they have gone out and signed both Smith brothers?
Yeah.
To replace, or I mean, to obviously play outside linebacker, because they already had one, and they would have had TJ Watt on the cheap. So where could they have put that money on the other part of the team to improve themselves?
TJ Watt, outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Okay, in a 3-4. Yeah.
Yep, 3-4.
I think honestly, gun to your head, did Thompson value cornerbacks more than outside linebackers?
Oh yeah, hands down.
I think it's pretty obvious if they were staring TJ Watt. Unless, look, did you guys think TJ Watt was going to be that good? I thought he was going to be pretty good.
I thought he was going to be good, but was he?
But he's pretty damn good.
15, 16 sack good? No, I was expecting maybe 10.
Yeah. So part of me's going, that's revisionist history. You could even say with JJ Watt, did anybody think he was going to be Reggie White 2.0? I didn't. I thought he'd be good,
right.
But my goodness, it's like some of that's kind of
and that
you do
that's
have
always true.
That's
right?
so much of what the draft. You have to do the projection,
right?
Mm-hmm.
In the draft, it's like we're not. Some of these guys are drafting on what they did in college, and they're solid as hell, and they're going to be. You could just plug them in, like Joe Thomas, that left tackle, Wisconsin. It was like that was like. It's like you're gonna put him in there. He's basically gonna be an all pro from the start.
Plug and play.
Plug and play. And he even got better. He was already really good. But some of these guys, like looking back again on guys like even Russell Wilson or whatever, and it's like you just don't know. I didn't think Russell Wilson would be this good. All I knew is when I saw him at Wisconsin, I was like, that's the best quarterbacks Wisconsin's ever had. But that's a low bar because it's Wisconsin. I'm sorry, but so that it is an inexact science, but I don't know. I would I have taken TJ Watt over Kevin King? Yeah.
Hands down.
I think, you answered my question in that Ted values cornerbacks more. Mm-hmm. And he was the guy drafting back then. So,
yeah.
And look, they built their defense around defending the pass, period. They never for a second I ever think we need to stop the run. Let's build this defense around stopping the run. No.
Well,
no.
But how long do you continue that trend?
Well, I agree. It's really catching up to them.
It is.
Right. Really big time. It's like they put all their chips into defending the pass, and they crapped out.
And let's be perfectly honest. If they would have contained Dalvin Cook today, how much would that have changed the whole game plan and the whole game?
That was the whole game.
Huge.
That was the whole game.
It was.
You want to make Kirk Cousins beat you because he's
right.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Like,
Right.
I don't understand how they had a one-dimensional game plan. I don't understand how. Like, okay, he scores 2 touchdowns.
They have a horrible run defense. I think it's Pettin doesn't help, but they don't have the horses, man.
I just how does this guy how is he running? How is he running every time? I didn't understand it. It was unbelievable to watch.
I don't know if I said this earlier, but I venture to guess that this might be the worst run defense the Packers have had in 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that bad.
Like, you knew what they were going to do and they did it anyway.
Exactly.
Like, that is unbelievable.
That is one of the most demoralizing things.
Yeah.
When you know it's coming down after down and you're just like, right?
And we thought that was going to happen Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened 4 days early.
I'll tell you what, this next game, this next game with the Niners, the Packers are 5-2, still in a good spot, all that stuff, yada yada yada, relatively healthy.
And the Bears are.
You talk about a gut check game, though. No, if you talk about a gut check game, though, this is it. The season could turn in an instant if they go out there and get embarrassed again and run down their throats, and the offense can't do anything again. They're in deep trouble.
Well, you know what? If there's one team between San Francisco and Green Bay that can handle this short turnaround, it's San Francisco, because you can look at them and say, this is how we beat Green Bay.
I know.
How does Green Bay go there and figure out how to beat San Francisco?
Well, exactly. No, I agree with you. This game is everything favors the Niners.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we better, if we have Aaron, we're going to have Aaron Jones back, and we'll have Bakhtiari back, which will help. Yeah. And I don't know all the injuries that the 49ers have. It's not like I don't think they're quite what they were last year. They're banged up, but they're getting better. And boy, howdy. I mean, they are going to, what's his face through how many passes in the playoff game? Garoppolo threw 8 passes, I think, in the whole playoff game. He might throw 4 on Thursday. He might cut that in half. I would run it. I'm not even kidding you when I say this. I would run it every down. Every down.
And that's
until they prove they can stop it. Every down.
And that's one position where San Francisco is really banged up as running back.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
But do they have a good offensive line?
I mean, they have the same guys back that they had last year that handled us.
Is Mostert's out?
He's hurt. He's got a high ankle sprain, but I don't know. That was against the Jets that he hurt that. So that was 3 weeks ago. So I don't know where he's at as far as being able to be ready for this game, but he's still questionable.
Yeah. But I literally mean that. I would run it on us every down.
Yeah.
Every down.
Yeah.
Until they prove they can stop it.
I agree.
I wouldn't even sprinkle in a screen. I wouldn't even play action. I would run it every down.
Yep.
Every down.
Yep. I agree. That's what I would do too.
And I mean, these coaches, you almost get the feeling that like they know they need to do that, but they're like, oh, we have these high paid wide receivers we have to sprinkle in there, and we have to do this just to kind of and it's like, I'd be like, I don't give a shit. I'm running it every down. I don't care if I'm paying this wide receiver $20 million a year or whatever. I'm running it every down.
And the NFL is really, I mean, obviously execution, but it's really a game of matchups. And this game, we just don't match up very well at all.
We do not. There's some teams, period. Like, today they made a good point about that. It was windy and cold. They're like, ooh, that actually somewhat favors the Vikings from the standpoint of, if it was a little bit warmer and not windy, they probably would have thrown it a lot more. So it was like this weird reversal where they're like, oh, we're going to have to run it a lot. And then when they started to run it a lot, they're like, oh, my goodness, what were we thinking? We were thinking about passing the ball.
They might have kicked the ball more, which would have made Elliot very happy too.
Ooh.
Well, it's making me happier than this Bears game right now.
What's happening with the Bears?
Ooh,
what happened with the Bears?
Saints 23-20.
Probably going to go to overtime.
38 seconds.
Yep.
And they're at the 40-yard line.
The Bears are?
Yeah.
Their own 40?
New Orleans 40.
Yeah.
So they're getting to be field goal range.
Yeah.
What's the final? What is the 49er game over?
No,
that's 37-20.
Yeah.
37-20 Seattle with 2:51 left.
Seattle, what's their record?
5-1.
Yeah.
Do you know the Steelers are undefeated?
Yeah. They beat 2
only undefeated
very
team
good
left.
team.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, right.
which is unreal. I didn't. I mean, how are they that good?
They are. I mean, they're like the closest model to like the Packers in terms of how they run their franchise, I think.
Yeah.
But I think they're better at it of late.
Wow.
I think they're more.
I mean, you know,
mean,
Well,
you go out and
and
you
I
trade.
think Mike Tomlin is a hell of a.
they have down years too.
Yeah.
So whatever.
They have, but
I mean, they've never tanked, but I think Mike Tomlin is a hell of a.
but they are the antithesis of what the Packers are.
Yeah.
They believe in a strong defense.
Yep. Right.
Strong front
that's a
seven.
good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Packers
That's a good
don't.
point.
Yeah.
So
I get you.
No, you're right.
Well, and you know what? Maybe that's why I feel like I'm so surprised that they're so good, because I feel like I'm like, well, so who are these superstars that are just like doing this for them? And maybe that's part of it. It's
yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe the Bears won't win. So like
Right,
you know,
we've been going for almost an hour and a half.
like you need a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of luck in the league. So it's
Yeah. And I mean, look, it's not all doom and gloom. Packers are still
all right.
very much
So you-
can control their own
So
destiny.
you guys want to do some predictions for
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Well, we have to.
because I feel like my record is terrible at this now. So I feel like last week I did all right. This week, not so great.
Well, this week we all sucked.
Well, I think you did you call it being close?
No, 30-16.
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys had like the
Packers.
same score. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
It was like within a point
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
I don't see the Packers winning this game. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but I don't see the Packers winning it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm 99% sure that the 49ers will win. But if I had to predict a score, it's going to be San Francisco 38, Packers 20.
I'm going to say, since the 49ers are banged up, I'm going to say 27-20.
Nice. Let's hope it's that
49ers.
close.
27-20 49ers.
I hope it's that close.
Wow, you guys are killing me. Okay, so I'm gonna say.
What do you?
I'm gonna say 28-27 Packers. I'm a true believer to the end.
Whoa!
I mean, if they do win this game, that'll be huge. If they lose and it's close, that's still not a big deal. If they get their asses kicked, that's trouble.
I'm gonna feel sorry. I'm gonna feel sorry for the people that listen to our podcast, because this week it was doom and gloom. Next week it'll be Super Bowl. So if the Packers win.
Yeah.
You really could say this. I mean, look, they got a demon that they need to exercise with them. They got killed twice last year.
So
I hate to say it, but like there could be, if they lose and it's close, you could say, oh, it's kind of a moral victory.
Right.
Well,
right.
It kind of is, and also like it's hard to lose that many times.
And it's on the road.
It's hard to lose that many times to any team.
Kaepernick did it to us.
Oh yeah, I know. Somehow
they beat us 3 times.
What is it with them? Like it's like somehow they just have our number. It's like.
Do you remember like Kaepernick destroyed us in that playoff game?
Packers are the only team he played well against.
And then he passed. He passed for 400 yards in the opening game.
God, stop.
Kaepernick owes his whole contract to Dom.
Yeah, he does. He owned the Packers, and everybody else
totally
he was
right
kind of
about
middling
that.
against.
So the Bears tied it up.
Bears tied it up.
Overtime. God.
I'm going to say the Saints beat him in overtime, though.
Probably, yeah. Which would be which makes it all the sweeter, actually. All right. Yeah. You got anything else?
Not really.
I think we exercised all of our demons.
You know what? I want to. Yeah.
It was a little bit of a therapy.
Yeah, we gotta cleanse it. Got to cleanse it. Let's talk Super Bowl next week.
Nice.
Like, I mean, we need to be making plans and like what we're gonna do and all that. Gotta firm it up. Okay. Just look at Andy's face.
I don't know. I mean, look, I hate to say, I just like anything. I mean, I'm just hoping for a competitive game.
Yeah.
Normally, I'd be like, I want them to win, blah blah blah. But it's like with the Niners and looking at recent history and how this defense is underperforming, yada yada yada, all that. I just want a competitive game.
Yeah. Ultimately, that's what we all want, I think. I mean, and I
Matt LaFleur has never lost back-to-back games.
God, don't jinx it. Stop saying that.
There's a first for everything.
Yeah, you got to stop saying that.
Sorry.
At least he lost today. He didn't get blown out. That's a good thing because when he's lost before, he's gotten his ass whooped.
I don't care if I get blown out or not. A loss is a loss.
No, I get that. But then earlier we were just talking about how if they lose, but it's close, it's a moral victory.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
To the 49ers, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The 49ers specifically.
Yeah, not the Vikings. A win is a win, and a loss is a loss with the Vikings. Period.
Well, if we're ending on a note of positivity,
yeah,
Kirk Cousins didn't beat us. That would have sucked.
That's true.
Really
well,
bad.
Okay. So on a positive note, you saw him at the end of the game. He looked kind of pissed off. I feel like he said, "Yeah, it wasn't me." I feel like that. I feel like he kind of brushed it off. Like, yeah, whatever.
You can quote me on this. I don't care about it.
No, I don't either. But I thought it was kind of interesting, like his demeanor at the end of the game. It was a little weird. Like he was.
That contract is going to go down as one of the worst of all time.
Probably. Yeah.
Just awful.
Actually,
up with Matt Flynn.
I was going to say that his contract was so he could throw interceptions against us, but that didn't happen today.
I know.
He didn't need you. All he had to do was turn around and hand the ball off.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's what he said at the end. He's like, "Yeah, they weren't going to let me throw it, so you're welcome."
I'd be like, yeah, and if I was his coach, I'd be like, "Yeah, what's your problem? You stink."
You know what?
Alrighty.
49ers are going down 28-27. Go Pack, go.
I love your positivity.